Sam Shankland recently uploaded a very old and ancient score sheet from when he was 13 years old, and he was rated 1609 at the time. His opponent was around 1707, and 1600 at 13 years of age is not a good signal that you're going to make it to Grandmaster. And so, with the score sheet, Sam Shankland also wrote a message explaining how, even though the idea that at 13 years of age you already have to be a titled player and already really close to Grandmaster, that's not actually true, and you can become a Grandmaster after you're a teenager, and you can also do it while going to school. I'll leave the entire message in the description, as well as a link to the original post if you're interested, but here we're going to go through the game. So he is playing with the black pieces, and it wasn't one of his greatest games, which is why, he wrote the message about not being so good at 13 years old. He was playing with the black pieces, and initially it seems very good. He gets a very big center. White played a very passive setup, going for d3 instead of d4, and therefore black has a really pleasant position, definitely already equalizing. And after knight c6, bishop e7, white long castles, which is not the right approach at all to the position. You can see here that the black pawns are already well advanced, and they're also on the queen side, and so you must fear the potential to just get knocked down with this pawn storm when you castle long. Perhaps white should have instead tried to go short here, where it's unpleasant, of course, having such a small stake in the center, but it definitely is still a game. But castling long allows for a move like a6 followed by b5, and Sam Shankland does not shy away from this really aggressive attack. We have h4. Of course, the whole point of putting the king on the queen side is that you're not afraid now to launch your own kingside pawns, but you can see how developed this attack is versus this one pawn. Black is getting there much, much faster. We have queen to a5, getting the queen involved, king b1, and now c4. Additionally, b4 was a possible move here, but c4 is fine as well. And again, the point is to just continue with b4 in the future and opening up your pieces, opening up this b file, just expose the king with your pawns. We have takes and now d takes, which is interesting. Initially, I thought it was a no-brainer to take like this to open up, again, the b file, a very nice file. But at the same time, you don't really have potential to push d4 in this position, whereas after taking with the d-pawn, it's true that the b file is closed, but now maybe you have potential to push b4 and later c3 and really shut down this king and get a huge amount of space. So both, I think, are pretty reasonable. The big downside of this one, though, you open up the d file, and white does not shy away from immediately trying to capitalize on that. So knight to e4 here. And it seems like white is just asking for a trade of queens, which is what black should have done here. They should have gone for this trade. But actually, white also has some aggressive intentions in mind. And after bishop b4, which is a critical mistake because now it basically just passes on the move again for white, white starts with knight d6, using this open d file, trying to control these dark squares. And here, obviously your king's attacked, so the supernatural move is to take here. I'm not sure if there was actually something better. Moving the king seems really horrible, but after you take, it's already very, very bad because you can't castle, and black has so much control over the dark squares, especially with the bishop here. This is just basically suicidal. The game continued bishop to b7, knight g5, which wasn't actually the most accurate continuation, because after the move knight g5, there's a very small resource just to hang on, which is knight to f8. Super awkward move, undeveloping a piece, but black looks to try to control the d file. And here, of course, white has a very pleasant position, and this is practically already winning for white, with the rook developing and the bishop, but maybe black can try to survive. It will still take white, it will still force white to play some pretty accurate moves. But instead of this h6, which basically puts up no resistance because after knight takes f7, white crashes through. King takes f7, queen takes e7, knight to e7, and queen takes b7. And here white is up a huge amount of material, but perhaps even more importantly, it's black's king who's wide in the open, whereas this white king is totally safe. If you remember this, if you recall this move bishop b4 and then bringing the bishop back, if anything, it helped white because white wants to go c3 because this really stops the whole potential of ramming these pawns down. And so, if anything, this helped white, and now they have a very secure position. b4 is still something to play for, but unfortunately with the king so opened up here and also the center really open, it's hard to get away with this attack. And of course you're down just a huge amount of material as well. Bishop takes h6 check. And now queen to g4, very nice, trying to place the queen on a square where it's very active indeed. And after knight to f5, a very impressive move actually, attacking the bishop, defending from checkmate, and defending from the attack on e6, but simply the bishop retreats. And this was actually a very nice point as well, because the bishop can go anywhere, and some people might try to reroute the bishop to some diagonal and keep it as an aggressive piece, and perhaps that is maybe even objectively better, but I really like this move because it basically says white is going to continue their attack with the pawns, with the other bishop, with the rook, but now even if you manage to come through and put pieces along this file, you're going to have absolutely nothing. So white basically, with their extra material and with this huge attack coming, they dedicate one piece to be a solely defensive piece, and then all their other pieces will come in the attack and destroy black. So we have b4 nonetheless, but after bishop takes e4, the rook is also forced to a passive state defending e6, pawn takes, rook takes, bishop takes e6, king h8, and now rook to e4. Of course, white is happy to trade here. Also, the rook can come in later into the attack. Knight h6 attacking the queen, but now bishop takes h6. The bishop served its purpose here, and now it has a perfect opportunity to expose further even the black king. We have rook takes b2, trying one last chance to open up the king, but after king takes, we have rook b8, and here actually this is all the information we get because Sam only sent one side of the score sheet, so we don't know what happened here. Maybe he resigned after playing this move, but chances are the game continued for a little bit longer. But just to show you a few variations, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see that white is just totally winning here. You can simply look by the amount of pieces for both attacks that white is just crashing through. Even though the king seems a little bit exposed, that's actually not the case. You can play bishop b3 here. I'm pretty sure every move wins, admittedly, but bishop b3 is the simplest, just to close up this. There's no check here as well because of the bishop on h6, and I mean, okay, after, let's say, rook b7 guarding from checkmate, then bishop takes, rook takes, queen h5, and there's this very nice forced mate here. And alternatively, instead of rook b7, if you tried g takes h6, let's say, but then rook d1, and again, another forced mate in 7 moves, nothing black can do about it. This is the best resistance they can hold, but it is checkmate now. And so, very interesting game, of course, not the highest level, but you can see how quickly an attack can switch, because black had an incredible initiative from the opening, but just by playing a few interesting moves, like here, opening up the d file, but even more importantly here, not trading the queens, and instead, if anything, helping white defend from the attack, and also giving white extra time, because now it's their move. White can simply infiltrate here, and they do. They take their chances. I mean, to white's credit, they played really incredibly, giving black only one chance, but again, a super unnatural move here, knight f8. No one really wants to be playing that. So white played overall really well in this game. And that's basically the end of the game. Hopefully you guys found this pretty entertaining and also instructive. Subscribe if you're new around here, like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Peace out.